All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, Alycia. Um,
Hello.
I am here with Alycia Noel, and Alycia is, just for context for everybody, Alycia runs the food pantry here in Oakley, Kansas. I'm at my parents' home in Oakley, Kansas. Alycia, you are at your home just on the other side of town,
Hmm.
and we're staying COVID safe with the
Yes.
Zoom meeting on Facebook. And so I wanted to talk to you about your very interesting background, which we're going to talk about geography, how you came from Ohio to Guam to wherever else in between and landed in Oakley, Kansas.
Hmm.
Um, you are a musician that plays the piano and has a beautiful voice. I heard you sing last week. And you run the food pantry here in Oakley. And you're a very well respected member of this community. And you're also a person of very strong faith. And I'm interested to learn about all of those things. And so, anyway, welcome. It's great to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's such an honor, brother.
Yeah,
And
well, same for me. And so I guess I wanted to just start out with like, where did uh, you grew up in Ohio? So tell me about life in Ohio.
okay. Well, if you get on I-70 and travel straight east until you get to the Ohio-West Virginia border, right before you see the sign that says "Welcome to wild, wonderful West Virginia."
Mhm.
I grew up right there on the Ohio River and in the western Appalachian Mountains.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was beautiful there. We a very small town, but nonetheless beautiful Appalachian country, and just I don't know, it was a very just a lovely life,
Mhm.
and
Brothers and sisters?
yeah. I have an older sister
Mhm.
that's 17 years older than me. And then I
Wow.
have a younger sister who's 3 years older than me. And then I had a brother who was 3 years younger than she was. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So four siblings, one that's very much a lot older.
Yes.
And and so you grew up and you lived all your whole grade school and high school all in the same place?
Yes. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Right. And I know that you're a musician. Did you start music at that, like when you were a kid?
I started off with the piano. And that was when I was kind of sharing with you earlier. My sister was so much older than I was, and she was playing piano, and I would sit under the piano at her feet, and I would put my ear up to the soundboard, and I would just listen, and I could just hear all the notes combining, and it was just such a beautiful sound. So one day, I think I was about 3 years old, according to my mom. She said she heard this piano playing, and she knew my older sister was not in the house at that time. And she walked around the corner, and she could not believe that I was sitting there playing the piano at 3 years old. So
Really?
she said, "Wow!" And so she called my sister's piano teacher, and she said, "You have got to hear this." So she said, "This is my 3-year-old. This is my 3-year-old doing this." And she said, "Three?" And she said, "Yes, she's only 3 years old." So that was part of the start of my musical career.
That's
But
amazing.
I could just hear, it was like it was just, I can't explain it. It was just like I heard the whole orchestra, all the different parts and
Right.
everything.
I
So
mean, you weren't reading music at 3.
no, I was not reading it. I was just picking out what I'd heard my sister do. So, but then,
Wow.
of course, I started studying music, and I studied classical music, and it just kind of grew from there.
Wow.
And my father was a trombonist. My uncle was an organist and a piano player, and so our whole family would get together and just have a lot of fun with music and things.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you left, what was the town in Ohio?
It was Bridgeport, Ohio.
Okay, Bridgeport.
Yes.
And then you went to college right after high school?
Yes. I actually, this is a kind of wild story. At 12 years old, I was completely done with high school.
What?
At 12.
Okay. You mean like you're just, I'm over this, or you mean like you finished?
No, I had finished.
Oh, really?
But my mother was wise enough to say, you are not going to college at 12 years old. So I stayed and just took all the classes I could, extra classes I could. So that was in 69. So I actually was finished with high school in 69, but for the next 6 years I stayed and graduated in 75. And because I was not mature enough to go to school at college at 12, but when I started college, I started as a junior because I had taken extra classes and everything. So,
wow. And where did you go to college?
I went to college at Heidelberg University in Tiffin, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Germany. There's a Heidelberg, Germany.
Yes, but this is the sister college. This is the sister university in Ohio. It was Heidelberg College, and then they changed it to Heidelberg University. But it is the sister college to Heidelberg, Germany.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah. And so how long were you in college? What'd you study?
Nuclear physics.
What?
I studied nuclear physics. There were only 2 of us gals in the nuclear physics program. And
is there a secret base here in Oakley that I don't know about and you're running it?
No nuclear plants here.
Okay.
But that was, I don't know, I've always had an interest in music and science. And they say it kind of goes together. But I think every scientist I know plays some kind of instrument. So I sang and I played piano, but yeah, it was a combination of nuclear physics, chemistry, math, and computer science at the time, which was in its infant stages. We still had punch cards. Yeah. So yeah, an interesting journey.
Yeah, well, and so then after college,
I was in college for 2.5 years. I graduated from there in 2.5 years, and then I went on to Kent State University in Ohio.
Okay, cool. Yeah. For like a master's program, or? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then I worked. I was at Kent State. And I was associate professor at Kent State in the physics department. And then I went on to San Diego State University, SDSU.
Really?
Yes.
You know that I live in San Diego?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that you had to stop there.
Yeah, I was there in 70, let's see, I was, I'm trying to think. I was there in 78, 79 in San Diego. Yeah, so I loved it there. That's perfect weather.
And then you were teaching then, I guess? Yes.
And doing some extra work towards more work on my master's in nuclear physics and mathematics there. So, because they have a wonderful program at SDSU. So,
yeah. And then was your next stop Guam? Like,
my next stop was Guam.
Okay, yeah. That seems like an unlikely next destination.
Well, my oldest sister had moved there with her husband. He worked for what's that? He was like a GS.
Yeah, like a GS-15, GS-12.
Yes, he was a GS-10.
Okay.
So they had him moved to Guam. And at that time, I was just looking for a change, something different. And she said, well, why don't you just try coming on out to Guam? And I said, because I had visited her in 83, and I just fell in love with it. So she said, well, you know what? I'd like to start a music program out here, because there's nowhere for the kids to go really to learn about music. So I moved there in 84 when I moved there. And we started Camille's Performing Arts Center. Yeah, because she was going door to door teaching piano lessons. And she said, if you're looking for an adventure, come on out. And people were just wonderful out there.
Wow.
And just to, I don't know, it was, we had God allowed us to have the largest private school. We had 400 students. When she reached 120 students going door to door, then she said, you know what, we really need a bigger place. So we got this beautiful building right behind McDonald's there in Tamuning. And it was the largest McDonald's in the world.
Really?
Yes. And we had a beautiful building there, and we would get coupons. We'd go down to McDonald's and get coupons when the kids would, and have things when they would do well in their studies. And then we started hiring other teachers. We had a band director. We had a visual arts director for painting. And, so it was like a whole performing arts center. Yeah.
Wow. And this is Camille is your sister?
My sister, my older sister. Yeah.
That's like 17 years older?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
She kind of got it started, and you came in to, what did you do? Like, what was your job?
I was the artistic director. Yes. And we were co-owners. I was the artistic director, and we put on everything from, well, my recitals. God just gave me a beautiful opportunity to just be able to incorporate musical theater with the children's talents. So instead of just buying a ticket and coming and sitting, everybody's talent was involved in a musical theater of some kind. Mm-hmm. So it didn't matter if they were just beginners. We just did some really neat things, and
sounds like a very fun time of your life.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And I love musical theater, and God just gave me that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so when did you leave Guam? What ended that chapter? We left Guam in 2002. Mm-hmm. Because my former husband's mother had cancer. So we moved back here to the United States to help take care of her. And we got here in May of 2002. And unfortunately, she passed away in July. I believe it was in July of 2002. Okay. So, but it was... Yeah, so we all came back. We had our adopted son Raymond with us, and we adopted him in it was January 24th of 2002, and he came back with us, and it was just a wonderful time, and we all got to stand around her bed. Mm-hmm. When she was passing away, and we all sang to her, and just a lovely homegoing. Right. It is special to be with someone.
Yes, it is.
It is. And so where did she live? Was that here in the Midwest?
It was in Gove City. here in Gove County. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where they were living.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so then you lived there. When did you move to Oakley? What's the story there?
We moved to Oakley that same year, September of that same year of 2002.
Okay.
And let's see. What else can I tell you about that time? I'm sorry, Justin. I sometimes with my illness, I have to really think hard about, I have gaps in my memory.
Well, you had a stroke, right?
Yes, in 16.
Okay.
March 16th of 16. So, but I have to really kind of concentrate to think about that. But up until that time, yeah, we moved here in 2002. We stayed here. That's where I first met your Auntie Angie.
Uh-huh.
She was at the long-term care, the manor it was called at that time.
Yeah.
Bourbon County Manor.
Was
And
she
she was
there?
the secretary there.
I don't even know that I knew that she did that.
Yeah, she was
before she had this job at the Methodist Church.
And she had the therapy dogs.
Yes.
Dizzy, I think Dizzy was the first one.
Mm-hmm. She loved the therapy dog.
Yeah. And that's where I first met her. And that was back in 2000, and I believe it was 2003 when I first met her.
Right. And then you've been in Oakley ever since then.
And I was in Oakley until 2006. And then I went back to Guam for a little bit, for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the principal at Temple Christian School in Guam.
A different school than your sister's?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I came back to Oakley in 2007. So I was only there for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then through a chain of events in 2008, I ended up the recipient at the food pantry of some very gracious people. And it just...
Right. Well, so you told me a little bit about this story the other day. So you went through a divorce earlier.
Yes.
Prior to this, right? Or right around this time?
Yes.
Right. And so then it sounds like you were in a bit of financial distress at the time.
Yes. And I had some just wonderful people that put my son's name on the caring tree downtown. And
what is the caring tree? I don't know about this.
Oh, it's the tree that's set up in the Farmers State Bank. And at Christmas time every year, people put their names in to receive food boxes and gifts for their children. But I did not do that. I didn't even know about the caring tree. But someone filled out an application for us to get a food box and a gift for my son. And I didn't know anything about it. And Pastor Jason Schmidt called me on the phone and said, Alycia, we have a food box for you and gifts for your son Raymond. And we have them over here. And that was at the Wesleyan Church at the time. And I said, a food box? And I said, what are you talking about? A food box and gifts? He said, well, somebody put you and Raymond's name in for food box and a gift. And I started bawling, and I was like, wow. And, so on the receiving end, I cannot tell you what it meant to me that someone would do that for my son and for me.
That's really
And
great.
it was just like the angels, like, oh, moment, it's like, wow, but to
And
think.
you needed it at that time.
So at that time, I said, if someone was willing to do that for me, and from that day on, I have always pulled a name from the caring tree to give back to somebody else.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since we're on that, let's follow that story, because like I met you the first time at the Methodist Church a couple of months ago, maybe,
Yes.
running the food bank.
Yes.
And people were like, "Oh, you got to go meet Alycia. Your reputation preceded you." So you received something from the food pantry 10 years ago ish, and then now you are running the food pantry.
Yeah.
So what's in between those 10 years?
Well, when you see how the Lord takes care of you, you can't help but to give back into his kingdom. And that, if there's nothing else taken away from this today, I just want people to know the goodness and the greatness of our genius creator. That is my whole reason for being here. So I will start back when I was 12, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So I'll bring you up to this point. When I was 12 years old, I found, and not by coincidence, it was a tract. It was a Jack Chick tract that was written in Spanish. Now, there were not many minority families living in Appalachia. Mm-hmm. Very few that spoke Spanish, and I just happened to speak Spanish.
Okay.
That's part of my background. So,
like your mother and father spoke?
No, my mother was Cherokee Indian. So I'm half Cherokee. My father is a combination of Irish, German, Spanish, and Morocco. So yes, I'm a duck-billed platypus.
Well, they sound like they both are very interesting people in their own right.
They are. But when I was 12 years old, there was a chick tract laying there in Spanish, which was "Esta es tu vida," which translated means "this is your life." And I picked it up, and when you open the chick tract, it started with the story of how the rich man from Luke chapter 12 was building barns, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to build me another barn because this one's so full, and I'm going to tear down my barns, build some more." And the Lord said, and I've got this here, it says, "Oh, what shall I do? I've got so much. So I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said unto him, "Thou fool, this night thy soul will be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided?" So it started off with this story, and then it shows the rich man dying, laying in the grave, and the angel says, "Rise." And he says, "Where are you taking me? I'm going to heaven." And he said, "Oh, you'll find out when you get there." And basically it shows him being presented the gospel, and he's sitting in church, and he's like, "Oh, this is so boring. When will this be over? I just can't wait to get out of here. My ball game's on." And it shows him telling dirty jokes and not listening to anything that's going on. he just, oh, that's just a bunch of bunk, that Jesus stuff. And then he appears before the Lord. The angel puts him before the Lord. And he says, Lord, what am I, why, I'm here naked before you, and why can't I go into your presence? And the Lord just kind of just shows a figure in a judgment seat. And he said, depart from me, ye cursed, and throws him in the hellfire. And then you turn the next page and it says, this does not have to be your life if you do this. And then it gives all the scriptures. So, and then it shows the man again, it didn't have to be his life, and it shows him. And I thought, okay, that I don't want that part, that first part. I want the second part. And I got down on my knees that night by my bed. And I said, Lord, help me to learn about you. I will devote my life to you. I'm not sure where to start, but you said in your word that if you start here, that you will take me on the journey from there. And I just want to learn more and more about you. So I was 12. Yeah. And so this can be your life. So that's how my journey started, because I came out of my background was, my father was not, he believed, but he believed there was a God, but he didn't go to church. My mother came out of spiritualism, which is just like a mixture of everything. And so I didn't have a really good foundation. It was my grandmother who gave me that good foundation. And we would go and stay with her in the summertime. And I would just see her kneel and pray. And she took us to church. And I would ask her questions, and she'd say, oh, Alycia, there's nothing like knowing the Lord, and that's.
What church did she attend?
Pardon?
What church did she attend? Your grandmother?
She went, that was in Pennsylvania, and she went to Mount Olive Baptist Church in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So that's how my whole foundation got started.
Yeah. Was that your dad's mom?
Yes, it was. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So then, okay, I'll lead up to where you asked me the question before about, how I got there. When my mom passed away in 1976, I was trying to live for the Lord. I was in college, and at that time I was 19. She passed away in 1976. And I said, oh God, I prayed to you for my mom to get well, because she got cancer. We found out in May. I got home from college in May. She died in July. And I said, I'm a young lady. I didn't get to know my mother as an adult. So I just kind of went like your wild child. I said, okay, you're there, but you don't have any interest in my life. But I know you're there, but you don't know what I'm going through. Yeah. Okay. So I love to play darts, and I love to play pool. So I'm in college, went back to college, right? I'm in a bar where there's darts and there's pool, and I'm playing darts and playing pool. And there just happened to be, coincidence. No such thing. They had a trivia night, and I'm playing darts, and I'm answering the guy's asking the trivia, and I'm answering all the questions. So he says, oh, I've got a question out of the Bible I'll bet nobody can answer. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I got this. He says, what's the shortest verse in the Bible? And I said, oh, I know that. I raised my hand. I said, it's John 11, 35. Jesus wept. And this guy he goes, how did you know this? He's playing darts with me, right?
Mhm.
He said, how did you know that? I said, because I'm a Christian. He said, then what are you doing in the bar? And it was just like the Holy Spirit just reached up and just slapped me in the face. And I said, I didn't say anything to him. I just put my darts down and I left.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, I thought about that. And I thought, you're absolutely right. What are you doing in this bar? You need to be where God can use you. And I'm not saying that you can't be used in a bar. Maybe I should have turned around and just maybe tried to witness to some people there. But I thought, you're right. I need to get back into business, doing the Lord's work. So that brought me to when I was in Guam. I told my sister, I said, Camille, I love what I'm doing, but I need to do more. So then I started teaching at the Christian school there in Guam.
Okay.
And tremendous drop in salary, but you cannot compare the Lord's work to any monetary gain. I wasn't worried about that. I knew the Lord would take care of me, and he has every step of the way. So that's what brought me to back here into Oakley and teaching and just loving on the Lord. So.
Yeah. Well, so what did you teach at the Christian school?
I was the before I was the principal. I was teaching. They have what's called the ACE system there, which is Accelerated Christian Education. So it's basically like a one-room schoolhouse, and the children are divided up into one through fifth grade, and then 6th through 8th, and then high school. So everybody's in the same classroom, and just a beautiful experience there. So everything from English to physics to math to literature.
Right. So there's not a lot. It's not a big operation, even in Guam. It's a pretty small.
Well, that school was small. Yeah, that school was small. We had 55 kids.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's really neat because the one-room schoolhouse in America, when they first started, the older kids would help the younger kids, and everybody had like a big brother, a big sister, little brother, little sister. So we paired them off, and it was a lot of fun.
So when you went back from living in Oakley and were the principal for a year, you were at that school.
Yes. Yes. I went back as the principal this time, and but I was very active with the kids, and the parents would get involved, and we had a lot of fundraisers, and just the parents actually came to know the Lord through the reading, some of the literature, and the paces that the kids would bring home. And yeah, it was wonderful there. So
yeah. Wow. So here in Oakley, you are a member of the Wesleyan Church, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so is that because of the pastor, like is the relationship because of like when you got the food pantry, or were you a Wesleyan before you got here?
No, I was not. I was actually going to the Baptist church here, Sunrise Baptist, on the east side of town. And then when I went through my divorce, I changed churches because I didn't want people to have to pick sides, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, but my former husband and I, we have a very nice relationship. we share 4 kids. So, I mean, you cannot break relationships apart like that,
Right.
and it wasn't always like that, but God just, he heals all kinds of wounds. And so, but anyway, I started going to the Wesleyan Church, and our former pastor there moved to Montana. So at the Wesleyan Church, we rotate speakers. We have Sheriff Tom Nichols come down, and he was just there this past Sunday. And then we have the director of KGCR Radio, Tiffany Martin, she speaks. And then we have Ryan Sturdy, who is at Colby Wesleyan, and Tim Linsco comes down. So we have our rotating speakers. And
Right.
yeah, you get to hear a little bit from everybody, and it's just lovely there. But how I came to work at the food pantry was, and I hope I didn't skip anything in there, but when I had my stroke in 16, I could not work anymore. I worked down at Waddell and Reed here in Oakley, financial.
Maurice?
And I could. Maurice, yes, Maurice Annis, right.
Yeah. Was he still running it at the time?
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. Such a small world.
Yes.
And I know Douglas and Thomas from when I was a kid.
Yes. Yes. So Maurice was ill, very ill at that time. And Thomas was in the office. And I had my stroke right there in the office on March 16th of 16. And it was just weird. I was standing up at the copy machine, and all of a sudden I just felt myself. It was just like my legs gave out, and I felt myself falling, but I just went down. I had a grand mal seizure. 3 grand mal seizures. And Pastor Bob Kelly, of course, was on the EMS. He was head of EMS at that time. And he came down along with Mrs. Graham, who was the former pastor's wife at the Wesleyan Church. And they were both on the EMT. So I was very well taken care of. And they flew me to, air flighted me to St. Anthony's Hospital in, I believe it's Lakewood, Colorado. That's the stroke hospital. And then I couldn't work anymore. So I said, well, I'm going to do some volunteer work. So after 2 years of surgeries and therapy, it was in 18 that I went out to the food pantry, and I was able to just be of help out there. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And I've just really appreciated all the help out there. And like I was telling you, we were talking earlier, it is God's food pantry. It's not Alicia's food pantry. And we have a plaque in there. I don't know if I showed it to you or not, brother, but we had a former member who did some beautiful artwork, some beautiful woodworking. And it's the motto of the food pantry. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Psalm 34, verse 8.
Wow.
So that's,
I've seen that. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, you'll have to check that out. So
yeah. Well, it's very organized, and I am told that it wasn't quite as a tight ship when you arrived.
Well, you have to have a point person.
Yeah.
For even God's work, right? So
yeah, somebody's got to do the work.
Yeah, and we have now a lovely stream of volunteers who are committed to it, and it just works out really well, and more people. And I just kind of put the word out there that, hey folks, the food pantry needs food, we need help, and volunteers. So it's just all coming together
Yeah.
because of God's Spirit. Yeah.
Do you get the food? Is it government supplied, or is it the people donate all of the food?
Both. We have donations come in from the community. We also have a truck that comes. We are part of Feeding America. Feeding America is the parent organization. And then from there, from Feeding America, it goes out like to Kansas Food Bank, Colorado Food Bank, New York Food Bank. And so our truck comes once a month from Wichita. And then Pastor Bob and myself, he calls me up and says, Bo's here. So we go up there and we put the food away. So
cool. Bob Kelly.
Bob Kelly, yes.
Who saved your life?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, there are no coincidences. And God has just put wonderful people into my life.
I can see that.
Every step.
So music is one of your gifts that we talked about earlier. You not only, you play the piano, and
yes,
you also sing. And so I'm curious, you were telling me earlier that you got involved with the bell choir. So I'm just curious about how you got involved with that, because I have a personal connection. My mom.
Yes, it was through your mom, actually, when I realized that they had done the bell choir, and she said, we're going to have to do something together. And I said, that would be nice. I would love that, because I just loved hearing the bells and your mom's direction and everything. She's just, like you said, she's a cool cat. She is. And, she said, well, do you think we could do something around Thanksgiving? And I said, oh, I'd love to do that. So we practiced together with the bell choir. I can't believe it's been a year ago. It just seemed like it was a couple months ago, but it was November 10th of 19. And we did a combination of, with the Joy Ringers, of how great thou art, and majesty. And it was just beautiful. And the Wesleyan church is so small. We put a sign on the door over there, and everybody came over to the Methodist church. So we had church over there. So they didn't want to miss it. But it was just lovely. And
yeah. So you played the piano and she played the organ and
No, I was the guest on the piano, and she led the joy bell ringers.
Okay.
Yes. So
okay.
She stood where I could see her, and we had it was just wonderful, but it was just beautiful. So yeah. I think I believe Auntie Angie has a copy of that, so you can hear that.
I wonder if it's on Facebook.
I believe it is.
I may need to look back at that.
Yeah. It was great. Lovely.
We'll put a link in the comments or something.
Okay.
Like they say. So this last weekend, you sang, I heard you sing at Jerry Nicholson's funeral.
Yes.
And you sang Amazing Grace a cappella, which was beautiful. And it wasn't How Great Thou Art. You sang
To God Be the Glory.
Which was also very powerful. I could tell that it probably was difficult for you, because Jerry died too soon, people would say. He died young, and I believe he was a friend. So I'm just curious about, how you can sing in public at a time of loss.
Because the Lord, I just hid behind the Lord at that time. And I prayed with Pastor Dan. And Pastor Dan said, we don't understand a lot of things, but we do know that he lifts us up. We do know that he gives us the strength to go on. And I met Jerry, a year ago. He loved the food pantry. And he came down and he introduced himself to me. And he said, can you use any help down here? Just like Jerry would. And I said, oh, well, yes, we can. So we just got to talking and found out, of course, that we both spoke Spanish. And he asked me if I'd read this book in Spanish. And I asked him, so we just kind of had a really cool connection.
Yeah. And compare notes about San Diego?
Yes. Yeah. And then we were talking about San Diego. We and of course but we were brothers and sisters in Christ, and that's where our connection was. And every time we would get together, we would talk about the Lord and how he's been so good to us. And we would share our stories, and just had a lot of fun together. And of course, we would he would say, oh, Alycia, I'm going to be a little late today because I've got to take my mom to get her hair done. And we would kind of laugh. And I said, your mom, she's just such the ladies' lady, and she would get her coif every Monday. So we would.
And this is Maxine
Yes.
who he was living at her house. Is that right?
Yes,
and taking care of, and she was like 95.
She was 90. Yeah, she was 90. Well, when I first met him, she was 93. So yeah. We would just have a good time. And everything happens for a reason. And I think that's why my favorite verse, my life verse, has always been Ecclesiastes 3:1, which says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under God's heaven. So even though it may seem in human terms that Jerry was gone too fast, everything happens for a reason. Just like when I was 12 or when I was 19 and my mom died. Then in 2000, my father passed away. I had a brother that somebody thought it would be funny to give him drugs and put drugs in his drink. And his body just shut down. And he ended up dying because of somebody's joke. It was basically murder, but they never found who did it. But everything happens for a reason. And all these things lead up to who we are today and our beliefs. And so there are no mistakes with God. None. And that's what I want people to take away from this is, if you don't know the Lord, please know him. Please find somebody that you can trust. Talk to a pastor, any pastor in town, Pastor Dan, Pastor Bob. Talk to Brother Justin. He'll show you the way. And because without him, we are nothing. We are lost without him. And there are not many roads to heaven. There's only one, and that's through Jesus the Son. So
it's been amazing to talk to you and hear your story, Alycia.
Well, thank you. I want everybody just to see him. That's the whole purpose of this interview, is for everyone to know the Lord.
Well, you said it, sister. No, I mean, I think it's a blessing just to have met you. I've heard your name for a while, and I'm really glad that we crossed paths.
Yes. You and me both. Yeah, I knew that Angie. She said, well, when you came the first time, she said, I said, who is that? He says, oh, that's my nephew, Justin. And I said, oh, I really want to meet him, you know. And she said, yeah, he's just a neat kid. So I said, I can already tell, you know. So it has been a blessing. And yeah. So folks, if you don't know the Lord, just learn who he is, because he is our genius creator. He's our propitiation. He is our redeemer. He's our savior. And in this season of Advent, he is going to come again, not as the babe in the manger, but as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So we need to know him and just love on him, because he first loved us.
When he's clearly brought you strength in times of difficulty.
Oh yes, he's my rock. He's my rock and my fortress.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it there.
Okay. Would you mind if I prayed for the people who are listening?
No, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Dear Lord and Heavenly Gracious Father, thank you so much, Lord, for this time that I had to just proclaim your goodness and just to shout hallelujah and to leave everyone out there with the prayer of knowing you, seeking you, Lord, just looking for you, because without you, we do not have a chance to go to heaven and be with you forever. And that's why you came as a babe, to know our thoughts and our feelings. You came as a sinless babe, and you grew up as knowing our feelings and our hurts. And that's why we can come to you, Lord, with all of our feelings, with all of our pain, with all of our thoughts, knowing that you have gone through it, but yet you did it in a sinless life, because you are the only Son of God. Lord, I pray for each and every person within the sound of my voice, that they will come to a saving knowledge of you. And it's in Jesus' precious and holy name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Merry Christmas, Alycia.
Merry Christmas, Brother Justin.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.